Hey, I hope you're doing well. A while back I said I was going to do a solo GM with this build, and when I said that, I said I was going to do it shortly. 3 months later, and I'm finally getting round to it. But the timing's good in the inside Terminus is quite a close quarters GM, and this build loves playing up close. You throw smokes, shoot guns, punch stuff, whatever. You want to do it up close. The build itself is a Spectral Blades Grecian Vest build. Build. There is a build video up on the channel. I'll leave it down in the description. If there's anything that kind of doesn't make sense immediately from what you're watching, that's definitely the best place to go, but I'm also just going to talk about this stuff throughout, so if you're here for the full thing, then you'll get pretty much close to everything I say there. Yeah, the build itself, Grecian Vest. Reason why it's called Grecian's Glow Up is this thing got a glow up, a really, really big glow up. Kind of a bit of a buff and a rework hybrid thing. The thing that got buffed was the original perk. It was before the buff, where depending on how many kills you got during Spectral Blades before going invis, so on your right click, you would refund super energy. And they just made one teeny tiny little change. It now also refunds super energy depending on how many hits you get during Spectral Blades, as well as kills. This one change is so impactful. It makes this super, and I can't believe I'm about to say this in 2025 about Spectral Blades, it makes it feel good. Not on my bingo card, but there it is. This super actually feels really good. Okay, maybe not really good. I think there's one obvious problem, and you'll know it if you've used Spectral any amount. It still has hit reg problems, that's the one gripe I have. But Grecian, if you are doing this for ad clear or even just laying into one really chunky ad, it's got some good damage. Not necessarily fast damage, it's not crazy fast, but it's extended damage. Yeah, it's actually really good. And yeah, it's I'm kind of sit here actually in disbelief saying that Spectral Blades is good. But the other part of Grecian's Vest, sorry, I kind of forgot where I started with them, is that now whenever you exit invis near an enemy, your drop pod's basically a snare bomb. For all intents and purposes, it is a snare bomb. It functions identically to one, just that there's no kind of little smoke that will go off. It just triggers immediately, or there's not like a placeable on the ground. And, sorry, I'm going to bring this up as well. The other source of smoke that we have in the build is from On the Prowl. It's a new aspect. You go invis, you mark an enemy, you kill that enemy, you get 10% ability energy for all three of your basic ones, and you walk through the smoke, and you will go invis off of it, and your teammates will too. And you also get some weapon buffs on killing a marked enemy, but it's kind of like, whatever. It's not all that impactful. The ability energy and the invis is really what it's here for. Reason why I want to bring that up now is that every source of smoke that you make in this build, whether it is On the Prowl, or Snare Bomb, or Grecian, doesn't matter where it's from, all of them are coded as being powered melee hits, and if they get any kills, powered melee kills. If you've got a sharp eye and you've been watching that bottom left hand corner, it should immediately stick out to you how many orbs this build makes. You are an absolute orb printer. You spawn them in. Basically, as many kills as you get is as many orbs you can make. I think I get 300 and something kills in this gem, and I make 260 orbs. It is so good. And that's because we've got triple heavy-handed on the arms. Sorry, I probably should have started by saying we've got triple heavy-handed on the arms. That's why we're making so many orbs. Because every single time one of your smokes gets a kill, again, it can be any smoke, and you'll make orbs. Also got double siphon on the helmets, one void, or actually I think it's harmonic because obviously we've got Void Super, but yeah, 1 harmonic, and I think Stason, that's someone's name, not the name of the subclass, Stasis, Siphon on the helmet too. So obviously double kills, or rapid kills with those, and we're making orbs. And then also Echo of something. The one where if you kill a weakened target, you spawn in an orb. Got that on as well. So yeah, you make a lot of orbs. One thing as well that's really nice with Spectral is it's considered kind of like a melee super. So you'll make the normal amount of orbs that the super would make anyway. Obviously you'll get quite a few more because with Guishan you will be getting an extended super. So yeah, it's going to just be making more orbs anyway. But every single kill that you get is considered a powered melee kill and is going to proc heavy-handed. Again, if you've just watched that bar, you've seen how many orbs it's just made. It's so many. That's the super itself, but that's also heavy-handed doing its work. For the rest of it, we are using Stylish Executioner. That is the second aspect that we've got in the build. And this is what is making us invis. It's the big thing here that is taking us into invis. In fact, it's the only thing outside of your smoke made from on the prowl. And you just, you'll see, you go in and out of invis so much. When I made the build video for this, I said you feel like a little assassin. I still stand by that. This is such kind of a hit and run playstyle. You throw smokes, you get up close to your enemy, you use those smokes to disorient, and then you just keep that loop going. Using gamblers to reset your snare bomb, even more weaken, even more void debuffs, even more ways of getting into stylish and invis. The loop of this build is just really, really satisfying. It never feels like it stops going from invis, but doesn't cost you loads of abilities anyway. For the, well, there's a few important fragments that are absolutely required here. I would say you should never switch them. And it is the Echo of something I can't remember and Echo of something I can't remember too. It is the one where you kill a weakened target and they will spawn a Void Breach and a normal power. And then the Echo of something that whenever you pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, you get Devour. These two are obviously hand in hand. They just work together as a natural pairing. But it's also where so much of the survivability in the build comes from. And obviously, every smoke that you make, again, from anywhere, is applying Weaken. So you're making those Void Breaches pretty much off cooldown. If you can make a Void Breach from that fragment, odds are probably going to be able to make one. It's that consistent and you don't even have to think about it happening really. And then obviously for picking up those Void Breaches and Orbs, you get Devour, that's health regen, that's grenade energy. And yeah, though weirdly I can remember one of them, Echo of Reprisal, I believe, which is whenever you go invis, sorry, no, I can't, okay, no, I can't remember. Whenever you get kills and you're surrounded, you get bonus super energy regen. You can see how close we're getting, and yeah, it's a super spam build. You want the super regen fragment in the build. If you're noticing any void explosions that aren't just destabilizing rounds here, which by the way is from the seasonal artifact, I'll talk about that in a second, but that is from Echo of Expulsion. I'm fairly sure, I'm saying this with like 99.9% confidence, if you get a melee kill, again that can be from any smoke, I think if you trigger your expulsion from that melee kill, those explosions are then kind of considered as melee hits and melee kills. Maybe not melee hits actually, but I feel confident in saying melee kills. It is. And yeah, that just helps again for making more orbs. And oh, there's also the fragment on that gives you health regen on getting a melee kill. That's not on powered melee kill, that's just on melee kill, but obviously a lot of where you're getting melee kills is from your smokes. And actually, no, I say that. You get quite a few stylish executioner melee kills. When you punch something coming out of invis from that, you get 200% increased damage. If you've played combination blow on prismatic, this should be a no-brainer to you already, and you know that the damage that does is pretty good, so you're using that a bit to just knife stuff and get weaken off on an enemy, which again helps proc your stylish executioner, kind of loops into itself a little bit there, which is nice. For the guns in the build, nothing specific, you don't have to use Slayer's Fang here, but this has got a nice combo of a Void debuff and then Repulsor Brace, which is where you're seeing the Void Overshields come from, and also a lot of the Weaken in the build. Well, Weaken in the build. Weaken that you're seeing in the gameplay comes from this being procced, and I don't know if it's mentioned in the weapon perks, but if you pick up a Void Breach and you have this gun out, you immediately get the exotic perk procs. I think it's called Night Slayer's Fang. Not sure. The one that makes this gun apply weaken, you have to get a kill, or again, I can't remember if it's mentioned or not, but picking up a Void Breach. Oh, there you go, Night Swan Sight. When you've got that up, you weaken, but picking up a Void Breach reprocs that, or triggers it in the first place. So yeah, I guess there's a little there's a little tidbit. But any guns that have interactions with Void debuffs, your Destabilizing Rounds, your Repulsor Brace, Demoralize, Withering Gaze, any of them, although I will say Destabilizing Rounds is probably the best one you have, they're all so good here. Again, Void debuff, it's going to proc stylish, it just helps with your loops, but any guns that keep an up-close distance, again, you'll see me use shotgun, but in the build video, I was using a fusion. Choir of One actually worked surprisingly well. Just anything where it's Void debuff and it also works around the kind of range that you're wanting to play with Guishan, it's ideal. It's definitely the way that you want to go with this build. But yeah. Okay, here you're going to see a prime example of hit reg being awful, and also this boss being boggy. Buggy. Yeah, look, he just keeps on teleporting. This is why the run was longer. I lost so much damage here because bosses being finicky, like teleports back to the middle probably. Yeah, there you go. And then I just lose damage because of it. And yeah, from here it's kind of, you'll just see what the build does, what you've seen already. Just a lot of going invis, a lot of weaken, a lot of supers, hopefully. Thing is, this would have been a perfect time to show off the build doing a good job against a single target, but the hitbox on this boss, it's not janky, it's not this hitbox's fault, it's the super's fault, but definitely against your bigger targets, and especially more grounded targets, things like your Centurions. A lot of the champs you've seen have absolutely no problem getting hit by the super, but as soon as it's kind of like a thin enemy, or an enemy where maybe they've got like quite a big gap underneath their legs, like boss ogres for example, I can tell you I've struggled with in the past. It's where that's a bit of a pain to deal with. So yeah, it's a shame. This is one of the things on my wish list for Bungie to fix, and I've been tempted to kind of do a little here's my wish list stuff for Destiny, but yeah, it's going to be one of them. This Super's hit reg has been doo-doo for a while now, and it definitely needs at least a little bit of love, because yeah, it's not in a good state right now, and it's definitely being held up by Guishan being able to extend this super by such good amounts. again, I would kind of almost want to consider this build being in a nerf, nerf state. I'll say nerf state, because, you know, this super should be working in the way that you think it should, not flying past enemies, actually hitting stuff. Anyway, mini Brent thing over. Yeah. Sorry, I haven't mentioned the artifact, and that's something that you've probably been seeing, or at least not the booster versions. There is Volatile Marksman, and when you boost it, you get class ability regen for every volatile detonation. I think I was on my stupid juice this morning and forgot to boost it before going into these runs, so you're not actually seeing that. You've still got good class ability regen from on the prow, you get ability energy from that, and obviously void breaches are 12.5% of your class ability on picking them up. So it's fine there, you're not missing out massively if you don't have it. But the big one is... Ooh, again, I can't remember the name. The one where you weaken a target and you get void overshield. You've seen how much weaken goes off. You've seen how many smokes you make. Every one of those is going to be... I say everyone. I think there's like a small internal cooldown on the void overshields that you can make. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of void overshields. On top of the fact that you've just got a repulsor brace, hopefully, on your guns. It's... Of the void interaction perks, it's the one I lean towards most. Oh, sorry. I was meant to mention something and I've completely forgotten up until this point. I'm using Slayer's Fang, you've been able to see, but that isn't actually the gob roll perfect shotgun that I want to be using. There is a gun called a sudden death, which is a void shotgun that you can get from Prophecy. But you can now also get it from Rise of the Nine, and that is 100% where I'd say you should probably try and farm the shotgun from, because you can get Adept's version of the gun, and you can also attune to it, and you get double perks. It's just your odds of finding this roll I'm about to say is much higher. But on it, you can get Repulsor Brace and Trench Barrel. Again, as I said before, every source of smoke that you're seeing here is going to be considered powered melee damage. And whilst you... okay, if you have Trench Barrel and something is stood inside of your smoke, it doesn't reproc it. Let's say I throw a smoke, I get Trench Barrel, and I shoot 3 shots. It's not then going to get reprocced by that smoke, but every new source of smoke that you make is going to reproc it. And that is more than enough for you to run Trench Barrel and it be a good perk. Again, you've seen how many smokes that you make. It's a lot. Now imagine every one of those giving your shotgun a 50% damage boost on top. And against any weakened targets, again, all of your smokes, now getting void overshields, and that shotgun being more consistent in killing. It's just... it's a gun that I absolutely am going to farm for. And it also frees up your exotic slot, but potentially puts a better gun in your shotgun slot, or whatever your like close quarters gun is going to be. I would honestly much rather have a Trench Barrel and Repulsor Brace Sudden Death than this Slayer's Fang, that's the name, than a Slayer's Fang. I really do mean that. 50% damage buff all of the time, and void overshields. I know it can do void overshields now as in a Slayer's Fang, but even so, I just don't see how it can compete with that, and then give me access to use something like Leviathan's Breath, Queen's Breakers, because it's just stupid good right now. Just these guns that are in your exotic slot that are so impactful, and you still get a really good gun to use here in a sudden death. Anyway, if you can, and if this build looks like it's interesting to you, I would say definitely try farm for that. I don't actually know if it's out. I haven't checked to see if you can get a sudden death, but if you can, I would say go for it, especially if this build is one that piques your interest. I'm trying to think about what else there is to do with the build. Mods, I already mentioned them, Siphon, Triple Heavy-Handed. Otherwise, I've got, I think, Reaper on the class item, and a few reserve mods as well, but, you know, that's nothing crazy. Otherwise, I'm trying to make sure I've got my bases covered. Terminus is just a chill clip gun. I was really using it for overload. And a recuperation on the legs as well. Yeah, that's kind of it. Okay, well, I'm just going to talk about stuff on the channel now, I guess. I put a community post out, and it's for feedback. A while ago, I was working on a video that was talking about abilities in Destiny, namely how Bungie does a kind of bad job at coding things to be what you think they should be. It started with Ascension, but I really want to evolve it into talking more about other stuff, because the ones that come to mind as being the worst offenders are Ionic Sentry not being considered a grenade, Quickfall not having been considered a melee. It wasn't considered a melee on launch for some reason, even though it used your smoke. Ensnaring Slam, exact same position as Ascension was, although it got changed. Ascension is still in a bugged state. That's in big air quotes though, because Bungie has gone ahead and say that it's intentional, or at least they said that in the past. They've now decided to change their mind and say that it is a known issue. It's just fickle, and kind of feels like they made their mind up and then everyone was getting annoyed, being like, why isn't this working? People just assumed it was a bug. And yeah, I could have started making a video on that. I ended up scrapping it, but now with Ionic Sentry coming out and being in basically the same situation, I want to make it, because I feel like there should be maybe a little bit of accountability, or at least then the issue is raised, and, you know, at least then it gets a little bit more exposure, and I feel like I can at least be happy in saying I maybe did my part for getting bugs, again in air quotes, recognized. And yeah, that's kind of it. I think I'm going to be working on a Warlock build next. It's one that I'm kind of hesitant to make it, just because I like a lot of my videos to be evergreen, as in you watch it and then that build is going to kind of remain the same and be a good source of information for as long as possible. And I don't want to... The thing is, it's dealing with a bug. What I mentioned just before with Ionic Sentry not being a grenade, it would be a Verity's Brow Ionic Sentry build. I've got a solo jam up on the channel actually with it, but I explain it better there. It's technically bugged, but it's difficult to tell. Anyway, I think I might pull the trigger on making that video. Anyway, yeah, GM completed. And I see the stats in a second. And you see the orbs made as well. Let's have a quick look. Drip check too. Ooh. Okay, yeah, 319 kills and just under 260 orbs made. And I remember this taking a little while when I was trying to look. There we go. Spectral, Gamblers, Snare Bomb, Vortex, On the Prowl, Stylish, Reprisal, Harvest, Starvation, Persistence, and Expulsion. And then Tenacious, Slayer's Fang with Repulsor, and Mistral Lift. Harmonic, double special stuff, heavy-handed, reserve and resist mods, special finisher, Reaper, volatile marksman, and then yeah, you can see that these haven't been boosted. I would recommend that you do that. Anyway, that's about it from me. That's it.